You wake up tomorrow morning, roll over to check your phone, and something feels off. Not like, forgot to charge my phone off. Not like I have a meeting in 5 minutes off. Something deeper. Something quieter. You look outside and the street is empty, but the cars are still there. You turn on the TV and every anchor on every channel is a woman. You scroll social media and every post, every comment, every complaint about traffic is from a woman. And then it hits you like a freight train going full speed into your chest. Every single man on the planet is just gone. Vanished. No warning. No explanation. No dramatic movie scene. Just gone. And somewhere out there, there's a woman standing in a Starbucks line wondering why it's moving so fast today. For real bro here, where we say what no one else will. Shh. Now before you think you know where this is going, stop. Because the real answer to what happens next is not what you expect. Not even close. Most people think they can predict this. Most people are hilariously wrong, and by the end of this, you are going to walk away thinking about something completely different than what you came here for. Yes, part 1. The first 48 hours are actually amazing, and that is the problem. Let us be completely honest about the first 48 hours. Because genuinely, for a solid 2 days, it is kind of incredible. Traffic drops by about half overnight. The bathroom situation in every household improves instantly. The toilet seat argument is suddenly resolved permanently. Gas station lines, shorter. Restaurant noise, significantly lower. The average volume of unsolicited opinions absolutely plummets. Women around the world are waking up, making coffee, and just standing in the kitchen in silence. Not because they are sad. Because they genuinely cannot remember the last time silence existed. It is peaceful. It is almost suspiciously peaceful. And then hour 36 hits. Someone has to change the tire. Someone has to move the heavy thing. Someone has to deal with the spider. I am not saying women cannot handle these things. They absolutely can. They always could. But for the first time, the option to just ask someone else to do it is no longer on the table. That tiny invisible shift is the first crack because the real revelation, and that list is longer and stranger than anyone expected. Things are about to get much bigger than you thought. Part 2. The infrastructure problem nobody wants to talk about. Here is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. And I mean uncomfortable in that specific way where you can already feel someone in the comments typing a rebuttal they have not finished reading yet. The world runs on systems. Massive, complicated, deeply physical systems. Power grids, sewage networks, cargo shipping, construction, mining, and right now, today, those industries are between 70 and 95% male. That is not an opinion. That is just where the numbers land. So in a world without men, the power grid starts failing within about 72 hours. Not because women are incapable of running it, but because the people who know how to run it specifically, who trained for years to understand that exact system, are gone. You cannot replace institutional knowledge overnight. You cannot watch a YouTube tutorial while the regional power failure is already happening. And here is the twist that nobody sees coming. Technology that was supposed to free humanity from physical labor, the automation, the AI systems, the delivery drones, almost all of it was designed, built, maintained, and updated by men. The very tools that could theoretically help rebuild the world require the people who built them to operate properly at scale. It is like someone handed you the keys to a custom race car and then the person who built it modified it and knows exactly what that weird noise means is just not there anymore. Good luck figuring out if that sound is normal. The thing helping you may also be the thing that got taken. Part 3. The societal resurgence that would genuinely shock everyone. Now this is where it gets psychologically fascinating. Because within about 6 months, something remarkable starts happening. Human beings are adaptive in ways that genuinely defy logic. When the old system disappears, a new one does not just appear. It gets built. Messily. Loudly. With a lot of arguments and failed experiments and moments where someone says, "What if we tried this?" And everyone else says, "That sounds terrible," and then they try it anyway. Women begin specializing, not because they are told to, but because survival creates its own hierarchy. Someone becomes the person who figures out the generator. Someone becomes the person who manages the food supply chain. Someone becomes the person who knows how to negotiate with the next town over. And slowly, over months, a new social structure emerges that looks nothing like the old one. Less top-down, more network-shaped. Decisions made in circles rather than chains. Which honestly sounds amazing, until you realize that decisions made in circles take approximately 4 times longer than decisions made by someone just being wrong loudly at the top. Every system has a cost. Every structure has a flaw. The old one had 1,000. The new one discovers a different 1,000. And here's the prediction break. You probably assumed this section would be about chaos, about things falling apart. But the real revelation is that things do not fall apart. They just fall into a completely different shape, one that human beings were not prepared for and had to figure out in real time. Which is chaotic, sure, but it is also the most human thing possible. You are now inside something you thought you understood and you were completely wrong. Ask. Part 4. The thing nobody is saying out loud. Alright, this is the part where the real discomfort lives. Because there is an angle to this question that every serious thinker eventually hits and then quietly walks past because it is too weird to say in public. The question is not just what happens to civilization. The question is what happens to the people who are left. Not structurally, emotionally. Because human beings are not designed to exist in a world without other humans. And for all of recorded history, the way humans processed grief, stress, fear, and uncertainty was together, in pairs, in families, in groups that were mixed in ways that made them complementary, not because of some poetic reason, but because difference creates friction, and friction creates solutions. When everyone around you thinks and moves and processes the world in approximately the same way, you stop catching each other's blind spots. And here's the uncomfortable realization. The thing nobody wants to say. Within about 5 years, the psychological toll of a single-gender civilization would not look like freedom. It would look like loneliness at a scale that has no historical reference point, because you can build infrastructure. You can redesign social systems. But you cannot code your way out of missing something that was just woven into how you experienced every single day of your life. Men would feel this too. If the situation were reversed and it was women who disappeared, the exact same thing would happen. Because the specific absence of the opposite is not about roles or utility. It is about the fact that human beings developed emotionally, psychologically, linguistically, in the presence of each other. You cannot just remove half the reference points of someone's entire internal world and expect the math to still work out. There is one final truth nobody saw coming. 5. What this question was actually about the whole time. Okay. Here is where I need you to stick with me for just a second. Because the real answer to the question was never about infrastructure. It was never about power grids or social restructuring or who changes the tires. The real answer is dependency. Not in the way people usually mean that word. Not weakness. Not need in a shameful sense. But the specific, profound, quietly terrifying reality that human beings are fundamentally built to depend on each other. And we spend enormous amounts of energy pretending that is not true. We have entire industries built around the idea of self-sufficiency, self-help books, solo travel content. I do not need anyone being said loudly by people who are clearly, visibly, absolutely in need of someone. And the reason we fight so hard against dependency is because dependency feels like vulnerability. And vulnerability feels like weakness. And nobody wants to feel weak. But here is the theory. Reveal. The thing this whole thought experiment was sneaking up on the entire time. The scariest version of what if every man disappeared is not the version where civilization collapses. It is the version where civilization adapts successfully, builds something new, figures out the logistics, keeps the lights on, and then a generation grows up and they are fine. Genuinely fine. Functional. Capable. Proud. And they also have this specific quiet ache that they cannot fully name because they have never experienced what they are missing. They just know something feels incomplete, and they cannot say why, because dependency is not a flaw in the human design. It is the feature. The thing we fight hardest is actually the thing holding us together. The people you most convince yourself you do not need are often the exact people keeping something alive in you that you will not notice until it goes cold. And we started this whole conversation with an empty street and a Starbucks line moving faster. And we are ending it here, with the quiet, slightly uncomfortable thought that maybe the reason the question feels so big is because the answer is not about men or women at all. It is about what happens to any of us when we stop believing we need each other. That is the real thing that disappears first, not the people. The belief that they matter. Which brings me back to that bathroom with the toilet seat finally in the correct position. And I genuinely cannot decide if that is a win or the saddest image I have ever thought of. So drop in the comments. If every woman on Earth disappeared tomorrow instead, what is the first thing that goes wrong that nobody would publicly admit to? And I mean the honest answer, not the diplomatic one. The one you thought of immediately before you decided it was too real to say out loud. Say that one. And if somehow this video made you think about something you were not expecting to think about today, maybe stick around. The damage is done.